you've just nailed it. So they've got this corporate job. Maybe they're doing the 9 to 5, or, they're salaried. So 9 to 5 turns into, 5A to 8P or something ridiculous. But every time, on a Friday, maybe they go into the office and they bring in that special dish, and everybody keeps saying to them, gosh, I love this. If you opened a restaurant, I'd come and eat this every week. You know what I mean? That's how these things get started. So the liquor providers sponsored the food truck and then got their food truck wrapped any way they wanted, because that can set you back a few $1,000s. But they're also buying so much alcohol. Now, different states allow different things. You're not allowed to sell alcohol out of a food truck up here. So that's part of the creativity of it. You want to run your own little food truck, and you want to call the shots, and you want people to see it. If it's going to be bright pink, or if it's, yellow and red and it's splashed with different characters or whatever it is. I mean, that's the option. You can, conversely, you can put magnets on there, or you can put up, temporary stickers.
Hi, I'm Matt Levenhagen, founder of Unified Web Design, Unified Plugins, and your host of the Builders Podcast. Here on The Builders, our goal is to uncover the first principles behind building businesses, products, and services. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you're listening. And if you find value in our content, a like, share, or review is always appreciated. Let's dive in and explore the roots of innovation and progress together. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another The Builders. Today, we are joined by Kirsten Pedersen. Welcome to the show, Kirsten.
Thanks for having me, Matt. Glad to be here.
So Kirsten is an executive chef of the Alaskan Events and Catering Company.
Yeah, about an hour north of Anchorage, in the cold, in the chilly winter that we're already in.
She says, we were just talking about that. She's already got snow up there.
Yeah.
So that's
Happy
a little crazy.
October to us.
And it stacks up there apparently, because here I'm in Wisconsin, so here we'll get snow, but then maybe we get a little melt, or it's far and in between. But it just keeps stacking up until you have 50 feet.
Yeah, I think last year cumulatively was about 30 to 32, maybe 28 to 32. I mean, you stop counting
feet.
After 20. Yeah, feet. Yeah. Yeah, when the snow finally goes away in May.
That's higher than a house. That's insane.
It was pretty ridiculous. It really was. We couldn't even see the greenhouse for months because we had so much snow piled up. It was ridiculous. I had the cheek to put, Christmas lights around the railing around the greenhouse. It's like you couldn't see them. What was the point? So
just knowing they're there. I mean, that's all that matters.
Somewhere.
But you are also deep. So you are also the creator of the illusionary. No, what is it?
It's a culinary illuminary.
Culinary illusionary. I can't read my own writing. And what's that all about?
So that's where we've taken the last 25 years of catering fun, and we have designed a course to help people get started in their own foodpreneur business. So it doesn't matter if they want to start their own catering company, no problem. If they want to have a restaurant or a cafe, no problem. Or if they want a food truck, whichever way they would like to take their next dream life path. If they would like to get a jump start on it and figure out how to do it the quickest and the easiest way without some of those traditional methods like culinary school and MBA school or business school, which, by the way, doesn't teach you the particulars of running the day-to-day business anyway. As the culinary illuminary, we have the courses designed to help people get launched and quickly. Nice. Not 2-3 years or taking out loads of student loans, that kind of a thing. Get them off the ground quickly. And we'll help them source food trucks and kitchens if that's what they need too. So it's either as minimal or as comprehensive as they require.
Very nice. So what we're going to do today, we're going to talk about, because we're in season 2 and we talk about, we're focusing in on the building. We're focused on the building. So we're going to talk about that today, both Kirsten's, how she built her catering business and events and catering business. And then we'll talk about how maybe anyone she's worked with or how she helps others build it and what's all involved with that, how it's built, how we build a physical location or build that type of business. But before we get into that, just tell us a little bit more about yourself and you know, how you got started in this business, and then that can lead into how you built your business.
Well, originally my path was in medicine, and I put a number of years into that. And an unfortunate car accident kind of threw that curveball. And so instead of going to medical school and finishing that up, and like I said, I was in it for quite a number of years. It was about 12 years between being paramedic and hospital, lab, and cancer research. Right before drugs are approved by the FDA, there's something called phase 3 clinical trials. I worked at that for quite a while. And also spent some time with the American Red Cross down in Idaho. Anyway, I did all of those things, and when I had finally made up my mind to go to medical school, then a few months after making the transition from Alaska to Idaho, I had a car accident that kind of, pulled the life rug out from underneath me. So, a few years of rehab. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, how bad was this accident? I mean, to knock you out of your whole profession and what you were doing.
So I was coming home from the hospital that day, and I was sitting stopped, and I had a half-ton pickup truck with a full shell on it. You know, that's back when shells were popular. And I had the old bench seat, and I'm only 5 feet tall, so I have the seat all the way up, so of course I can reach the pedals. And she hit me so hard that she threw my head into the rear window of the truck.
Oh my gosh.
But she pushed the truck so hard, she pushed me into a Honda Accord, which became the accordion when it smacked into a Jeep in front of it. And we all went to the hospital. But my head took the brunt of that my head just literally, I'm actually lucky, Matt, that I wasn't more seriously injured, because the mechanism of the way my head whiplashed, not only front and back and front again, I probably should have had a broken neck. So yeah. I'm lucky that all I got out of it was a brain injury, right? Just a brain injury.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
I also had some TMJ issues, and of course then speech and cognizance issues. I mean, it was a mess. It was all internal.
Just like that. Yeah.
And you think that you're going on, and everything is just, you've got it all lined up. I did. I was supposed to finish up there and head on over to Harborview in Seattle. That's where I was going to go to medical school. And literally in one afternoon, it just all came out from underneath me. So, and there's an element of being on the other side of being cared for that I didn't like, because I, do unto others, but don't do it unto me. I didn't want to be the patient. And so,
right.
Yeah, that was a tough, and then it went on for a while. Things were more serious than we realized at the time. So it was about 3 years of, very hands-on, intense rehab, trying to get things lined up and figured out again. It probably took close to about, I would say, 6 to 8 years, though, before my head finally started to really fully recover, in the respect that, I wasn't searching for the word, or I wasn't, I could think of it, but I couldn't say it. I just went through some terrible moments like that, along with silly things, doing things like misplacing items, important items like car keys, and things like that. So, yeah, and they're very strange, those brain injuries. and the brain's fascinating and bizarre all at once. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
I don't wish that on anyone at all. So
yeah, you must have been pretty resilient you push forward through that, all the therapy and all the work to get to a place where you were ready to figure out what you're going to do with the rest of your life. Obviously, when did you make a decision to not go back, or why didn't you go back to the kind of the medical field? And I imagine this is where you're making the transition to what you're doing now.
So the next step in the game would have been to have sat the MCATs, and I couldn't pick. When you sit down, you do an equation, and you go A plus B equals C or D, right?
Mm-hmm.
Except that I would look at the equation and I would think, well, I think that I know D, but I couldn't pick out A and B to get to D. Or I could look at A and B and couldn't remember how to get to D. Or I could remember bits and pieces, but I couldn't line them up. And
Gotcha.
it was, and then talk about being frustrated and angry because I knew that I knew I should know it, but I couldn't pull it out. And that was really, really frustrating. Just like words, I couldn't pull out some of the words at the time. It was just, it was.
Sounds frustrating.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was, yeah.
And then, but over time, your brain does improve and starts remapping everything and kind of relearning from the ground up. And
the neurons and the dendrites, they reconnect. They recreate pathways, and this is why meditation is such a great practice for people. They really should do it a little bit more because it does expand the brain. I didn't do it at the time because it wasn't really a thing that you talked about back then. But of course, I think it's a little more widely accepted now. And no, so I going through the rehab, going through the motions, and I think part of the healing process was I couldn't flounder I was in Boise at the time, and I felt like I couldn't flounder in Boise anymore. I was going to have to change my environment, and I was going to have to figure out what I wanted to do next. And I just happened to be coming home and, stopped at the fruit stand and picked up strawberries. And I said, gosh, strawberry jam, real fresh strawberry jam. Someone had given me a jar of it. And I'm like, wow, this is really good. I should learn how to make this. And that's what started everything. And so, yeah, a pint of strawberries, a couple of jars of strawberry jam. And I thought, well, I don't mind cooking. I think it's quite all right. I mean, it's not medicine, obviously, but so it started there. And then I started playing with some desserts and some specialty little chocolate things. And it just sort of piqued my interest. So
nice.
That was kind of like, what do I do next? Do I go to culinary school? And at the time, that was seemed to be the most appropriate next best step. So I picked culinary school over in Vermont and took the dog and picked up the horse and hauled off to Vermont and went to school in Vermont. And I chose Vermont because I figured it would be easier to house the horse in Vermont than it would be in New York.
Okay.
That's why I didn't go to CIA. I wanted I wanted the countryside for the horse.
Gotcha.
Hey, I had a head injury at the time, so at least I made that decision.
Animals are awesome. That's probably part of your healing process is having your animals around, and horses are awesome.
They are. And do you know something that was quite a moment ago? She was only 8 months old when I picked her up in California and took her with me. And she's out in the stables now, and she is 26, coming up for 27 next year. So, yeah. And on the way back, I actually thought, well, if I'm going to take a horse to Alaska, why not take two? They should have, companions. And then found another young baby, a young foal in Northern California. She was only 4 months at the time. And she was a little young, but they bonded. And, and they're side by side out there together.
Awesome. That's great.
They've just been, together all these years. So getting old, but
I love horses. I grew up, I actually, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but I actually grew up on a ranch for the first 6 years of my life, which oddly ended because my mom actually got in an accident, but she died. So that was a drunk driver. So
Oh no.
yeah. So unfortunately, like if that wouldn't have happened, like we're talking about how that can change your life, an accident like that. For me, I might have been a cowboy. I could be a cowboy right now.
You
But
could
my
be,
dad
right?
moved us to the town, to the city, and he couldn't handle the ranch by himself. It was more her dream. So,
Okay.
but we
Oh
digress.
goodness.
But yeah, I have a love for horses. I even had a pony named Duke.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry that happened because it's always interesting to speculate how, where your
Yeah.
life might have ended up. Oh
Yeah,
my goodness.
those moments where you go in a completely different direction it's insane to think about.
And it's just
Or
so
I might have
unexpected.
went through a completely different trajectory and ended up still being a web designer and developer,
Who
doing
knows?
podcasts.
Who knows? Yeah,
It
who
was just a
knows?
different path.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, the good
Never
thing
know.
now is you could actually you can web design from anywhere. So if you wanted to go back to the country and get a horse, you could,
I could, but
right?
I married a city girl though. That's the problem.
Oh. Oh dear. Well.
Yeah, we're not going to the country. I could visit. Yeah.
You better have a good farmhand then, because it doesn't sound like she'll be scooping any barnyard up.
No.
'Cause she's a city girl.
Yeah. Not happening.
Oh goodness.
So to get back to your story, so okay, so you got your horses and you went back to school, culinary school. You did that whole thing?
Did the whole thing. So went to culinary school with the one horse and the dog. Came back to Alaska thinking I was going to drop off the two horses and the dog. My parents had a house up here at the time, and thought, well, okay, I finished school. I'm going to make a little jaunt around the world. The plan was Australia and then popping over to the EU and doing particular stints. I probably would have done maybe about a year and a half. 3 months here, 3 months there, kind of a thing. And of course, if I found something that I really liked, I would have stayed longer. But that was the plan, was to culturally and culinarily diverse and, kind of trot the globe a little bit there.
Mm.
And, excuse me, I was on my way from California. I had just left California, headed north to Alaska. And my mom calls and she says, found a lump on your dad's neck. We don't really know what's going on. But I just knew, there was something in my gut that told me that it wasn't good news. And so made the trek home. And when I got home about 10 days later, he was diagnosed with a non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Mm. So that kind of threw the whole family into another tizzy. Just kind of getting over my situation from, 5-6 years previous, and then this happens. And thought my dad was stable, but I decided that maybe I should buy a piece of property and hang out, because I didn't feel like I should take off and go, trotting. And so I guess that was about 99. I guess that was 99, 2000. It was 2 years later, I had purchased a piece of property here, put in the will, went back to the banker and said, look, I'm ready for the construction loan, want to build the house. And my father helped me build the house, and then finished it in May of 03. And then again, life pulls the rug again. And my father just passed away at his work one Friday afternoon. Wow. Just never saw it coming. What do you do?
Yeah. What do you do? Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. It's hard to, I think of my father too, like he's still around. He's up there in his late 70s, and you know that day's coming. But you think about what an impact they had on your life, and imagining time after that. But so that happens, and now you got to pick up the pieces again.
I had just so at that point, because I had stuck around here, I had worked with a very, very high-end restaurant in Anchorage, and finished the house. And I said, well, when I was working with the restaurant, the catering that they had a contract with the Anchorage Museum, I did that a few times. And I said, gosh, that's really the way. That's just a fabulous way. What a great outlet, because you could work really hard. A few days, you're putting in just straight hour days. You're not dealing with customers or clients. You're literally just immersing yourself in the kitchen. And then, Friday night comes along and you put on this big spread and you feed 300 people. And it was like, and you don't stop moving. I mean, things have to happen right now. When you feed 300
right.
people, you have to, you can't sit and go, like now you'd be like, should I check my phone on something? No, you don't check your phone. You don't do anything. You make it happen. Yeah. And then, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, you get up and you're like, well, that was really great. And, and the next week it's a smaller event. So you're only in the kitchen maybe Wednesday and Thursday, maybe part of the day Friday, because the event's on Saturday, and it's 50 people. And you're like, wow, I just had this lovely, time off, playing with the horses, taking the dog on a hike, all those things that you want to do. It's like, there is something to be said for working hard and scaling quickly like that versus, being in a restaurant and, 100 people tonight and, 150 people tomorrow night and maybe only 80 people the next night, but then the weekends hit and you're, 200 and 400 those 2 nights. And if you're working on Sundays, you get 1 day off or you get 2 days off, but then you're still back. The restaurant doesn't stop because, of course, in the summertime when the tourism is at its height in Alaska, nobody stops. Everybody is constantly running. I mean, everything's open constantly.
Yeah.
So when you look at that and you go, gosh, it could be like this. Maybe I should look at that really, really closely. So I left the personal chef because I have been doing some personal chef work at the time too. I said, you know what? I think this is the way to go. And at that point, my personal clients were saying, well, gosh, could you do this party here for us? And could we have maybe a little social gathering over here? And could you cater that? So it was evolving at the same time as well as I was doing the major events in Anchorage. And I said, this is where it's at. I don't want a restaurant. Personally, for me, I mean, I wanted to have the catering. So I built that from scratch. And, that was 25 years ago now. And yeah, it's been very rewarding.
I'm actually always fascinated in that discovery process, like what you went through to find your thing. Excuse the interruption, but I'd like to take a quick moment to thank the sponsors of the Builders Podcast, Unified Web Design and Unified Plugins. At Unified Web Design, we specialize in crafting custom websites and providing comprehensive design and development solutions to help businesses build a strong online presence. Unified Plugins offers a suite of WordPress tools designed to help you create beautiful websites, enhance functionality, and drive conversions. Explore how these services can elevate your digital projects by visiting unifiedwebdesign.com and unifiedplugins.com. Now back to our program. Because sometimes it is, you did go back to school and then you work for restaurants and as a chef or whatever you did there. And, but then you try this one thing and you're like, this is my thing because of all these benefits and it suits me and it suits my lifestyle. I'm able to spend more time with my horses and you were enjoying doing what you're doing though. You also learned from, was it strawberry jam that you first, from strawberry jam all the way up to running your own catering business. That's how it's a little spark like that. Let me try this thing. Let me experiment with this. And that, that's where ideas ideas are born out of just trying things and keep pushing forward a little bit and see where that takes you. And then one day you wake up and like, I found my thing.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
What was building the business like? Was that something, because you're not only doing, you're doing the catering, the cooking, all that stuff, but underlying that is the actual business itself. Were you a natural at running the business and setting up the business, and what was that process like?
I wish there's three things that I wish I had known very early back on when I got started, and that is, you either have the marketing, such as you, Matt, or you have the product, which is, that crosses over. It's the same thing. Or you're really good at the accounting, the numbers. What Harvard teaches their students is, you're great at one of these things. You might be so-so or even pretty decent at a second one of these, but you're not going to be good at all three of those things.
So what are the three again? Financial?
Financial, marketing, or the product or service.
Gotcha.
Okay. I didn't really love marketing. We didn't, that was back when, you had to go to the phone book people and they would sit down with you and you would design the ad and approve it. And then you were stuck paying for an ad for the next year that, was maybe very, very expensive. Yeah. So, thank goodness we evolved to the internet, because now you can just change things quickly and, but I was okay with the numbers. I was great at the product, the service. And then I had to hire somebody for the marketing. I just wish I had done it sooner, because I think my life would have been a little easier. Because I was so, because of the head injury, I would sit down at the end of every month and I would go through all these numbers and I would make sure everything, I was reconciled to a T. And now, again, thanks to the internet, you just let it do its thing. Everything's plugged in. It talks to the bank.
Everything's automated.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Totally wonderful. So that was the early stages. I probably put in more office time then than I, loved to. Especially in comparison to now. Because now the office time is it's fairly minimal. Comparatively speaking to being in the kitchen and then being at the event, which is great. So,
what's interesting is if you're really good at the craft, like you said, I like the three things: the financial, marketing, and your basically your craft, what you do. And because you can't, it's not only are you maybe not good at all three of those things, but you also have only so many hours in the day to do all those things and to do them well. So, even when I think about like my agency, like I'm either, if I'm doing all the web development, all the web design, I don't have time to go out and work and run a team to do the market, or maybe I have to hire a team to do the marketing and the financial end of things. But you got to decide what you're going to focus on, and then hopefully outsource the rest or get help to do the rest. So it's just kind of figuring out, everyone's different. It's a process. And you figure that out by trying. Right? It's like, maybe I don't like numbers. Yeah.
Well, and when it comes to tax time, do I want to fuss with that? No. Do I want to sit up late at night and read, the tax code that's the size of like 60 Bibles put together or something? No. I don't want to know that.
Yeah.
I should say, I want to know all the correct tax breaks. I don't know if I want to spend the time reading to get the tax breaks. And I don't know if I would, there's some really dry reading out there, right? I put that in the dry reading category.
Yeah, that would be.
That's the bedtime. That's bedtime sleeping inducement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's cool because like a lot of people start businesses and because they're doing something. They enjoy what they're doing. Whatever they're creating. They enjoy doing that thing. And then they dive into business and they realize, oh, I got to do all this other stuff. I got to do the marketing. I got to do the financial stuff. And I don't like that stuff as much. So you can continue to do your craft, but you can find people to help you with the marketing, or other agencies, or individuals to help you, get a bookkeeper or whatever. So you don't have to do it all yourself. So that's a lesson we can pull out of this episode. You don't have to do it all yourself. Figure out your thing and give the things you don't like doing or aren't good at to other people. That's a good way to build a business.
And you shouldn't spend the time on those things that you don't like. Focus on what you do like, because it takes away from what you love doing. Yeah. Really, I mean, thinking about back then, like, end of the month next week, I gotta go sit in the office for a couple of days. I could have been, doing something else. I mean, of course, again, now that everything's automated, it just makes life so much easier.
Yeah. That might even get better in the coming years. AI, eventually we'll have own AI bots just doing everything for us, and we can go to the beach or hang out with our horses. Maybe not. Maybe not that good. We'll see.
Well,
but okay, so all right, so that's and you've been doing this for 25 years, still loving it. But now you're helping others. So let's go here for a little while. First of all, how do you help people? And then let's maybe walk us through a process of somebody that wants to get started. Maybe they're like you. They're still doing stuff in their own kitchen, or maybe for, making things for relatives or people they know, some cookies or something. They figured out how to make this amazing cookie. And every Christmas they're like, there's some family members that you're going to bring those cookies, right?
Right.
You're gonna, that's often how it happens. Even we have this particular dish that my wife makes that every Christmas it has to go. We have to spend the evening before getting it ready, and because everyone loves it.
It's so true, right? I mean, and that's usually how it starts.
Yeah. So somebody's got something like that, or they just, maybe they just like doing those things. So how would you help them turn that into a reality? What's the path?
So anybody that has, and it's just you've just nailed it. So they've got this corporate job. Maybe they're doing the 9 to 5, or they're salaried. So 9 to 5 turns into 5A to 8P or something ridiculous. But every time, on a Friday, maybe they go into the office and they bring in that special dish, and everybody keeps saying to them, gosh, I love this. If you opened a restaurant, I'd come and eat this every week. You know what I mean? That's how these things get started. Yeah. And you look at your lifestyle and you think, okay, well, if you've got children or a family or however things are evolving, and you're spending all this time, giving obviously you're being paid, but are you being completely financially rewarded for what you're doing for that corporation or that big company for the amount of time that you put in? Because especially if you're working from home and after hours, and if your day is supposed to be 8 and it's turning into 14, are you being compensated correctly? So people always have a dream and say, if I was just the boss, or if I could run, if I could call the shots, if I could make the decisions, and if they can't get that where they're working, maybe this is where they, if this is one of these things they're lying in bed at night going, gosh, just that, like that dish you just talked about, what if I opened a little stand on the, the corner? Would this sell? Would this make me, a lot of money? And would I be happier doing that than what I'm doing right now, taking time away from my family? So that's where we help people define if they would like to go into, go down that path, go that direction. If that dream is something they want to turn into a reality, but then there's that traditional thought that, oh, I've got to go to culinary school, or, oh, I need MBA school, or I need business classes because I don't really know what I'm doing. And, it kind of comes back to the core of like the craft. I know this dish, I want to make this dish, I know this dish would sell, it would be fantastic. But then what? Where do I sell it? What do I sell it out of? How do I source product? How do I do wholesale? How do I, all of those elements that, and then they start, they think about all that and they get overwhelmed and they go, I guess I'll just go back to work in the morning. You know what I mean? Or
that seems
the
like a
weekend
lot.
Comes, right? Never mind. I'll just keep doing it. Or they start thinking about it and going, well, I could keep working. I could do night classes. Maybe at the end of like 2 years, I could just take out one loan for that semester. I could wrap it up. Maybe I could just go ahead and do it. Oh, how much is that loan going to be? And if it's $50,000 a semester,
right, now
what's it going to be? Yeah. And it's like, then they're in debt. And, I don't think that people have to stay with that traditional idea anymore, that they have to go to school and then go work for somebody and learn and then go out and launch on their own. I think that especially with the way we have the technology today and the way things have evolved, if you have someone who can give you a blueprint and say, okay, this is what you need to do in this order. Okay, go through all these motions. When you go from A to B, all the way through, you can set yourself up for amazing success. And once you have those basic elements figured out, maybe you want a food truck. Maybe you saw Chef and you went, gosh, you know what? I love that movie. How fun would that be? I'm gonna get a food truck and I'm gonna sell that thing that we've got to make for Christmas dinner. Yeah. You know what? And I'm going to make a lot of money at this. And all my people at my work who said they're going to come to me are going to come and they're going to buy my thing. And you know what? You don't have to go through those traditional methods. You can work with the right mentor, the right coach who lines that all up for you. And that's what we do. We have taken those elements and define them so that we can get people launched and out the door and off onto their dream. And, let's just say they're feeling a little like, okay, well, should I really make the leap? Should I really, maybe they start out just weekend only. They're burning the candle at both ends, but, maybe they do this for 6 months and they go, wow, I really can make this work. So, everybody's got a different threshold of, what they're comfortable with, right? So that's where we come in though. And I think if you have somebody that you can rely on and someone you can talk to every week and go, okay, well, I encountered this problem, or what do I need to do next if, let's just say you've gotten the food truck and you know what, friend of a friend, so-and-so's daughter's getting married next summer. They want you to cater the wedding because they've had that, they love that dish and they want that at their wedding. Well, how do you do that? And what about a contract? And what about taking, scaling all of that? If you have to figure that out on your own, and by the way, business school, night school, and culinary school, they're not going to teach any of that stuff anyway. That's going to be by trial and error.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff you learn in school that you would never you're not actually applying. Maybe it gives you some wisdom where you understand what something means, but. Yeah, it's the same way. It's the same way with that. Like you said, we're in a really interesting time because we have the internet now and we have opportunities to learn in so many different ways. And something like this, where they have somebody like you, or, a mentor, somebody to help them that have it figured out. When I first started my agency, I don't know if I've even ever talked about this or it's been a long time. I actually found a course. It was an online. It was a literal course where you sign up like a membership. I think I paid over $1,000 for it, probably $1,500 or something like that. And because I wanted to build an agency, and it was 4 agency owners. And I'd never built an agency before. I'd been doing web development for years and internet stuff for a couple decades, but I had never built an agency. And I think it was called Agency Accelerator or something, fancy name. And but in that course, I was not only taught all the kind of elements of running an agency, but I was provided things as well. You talk about like the legal side of it or whatever. I was given how to create productized services and how to structure that and how to, structure your phone calls and how to do all these different elements that I feel like it gave me a head start. Some of that stuff I still use today and this is like 6 years later. So in your case, and I guess I find this fascinating because I don't know anything about what you do. You basically are doing something very similar for somebody. They're able to learn from somebody that's been there, done that, and has all that stuff already figured out. And then you can be a mentor to them because you can learn as you go. Because even with that course, as time went on, things happened. A lot of it I had to figure out on my own. But now they have somebody to get help from, and that's really, really
Right.
valuable.
Right.
So,
And tuition, or I should say, tuition's expensive, but so are life lessons. They can be expensive. And,
for sure.
set yourself up in such a way so that you avoid little traps or there are things that come up in our world that you just couldn't foresee.
You can't
happening.
anticipate everything. You can't possibly. But
You
the thing about what you're doing though too is because it's structured. Like if you go to just a school to get a degree or to get the roadmap, and this is where your destination is. You want a food truck? This is what you do.
Right.
Right. Which is beautiful. So what within that? Let's say somebody wants to. Maybe it's a food truck. I don't know. I love food trucks because I feel like here in the Milwaukee area where I live, they've become more and more popular over the last several years. I've been seeing more of them. They're not now like I don't remember ever seeing them parked outside of businesses all the time. Like there's certain places like they've staked out a place. They're always there. They must have some kind of relationship with that, either the city there or something. Maybe you can tell us that. Well, how does that, if it works the same up there? I mean, how does that work? How does that food truck able to just sit in that same spot all the time? Is it the business they're in front of? Is it the city that has to give them a license to do something like that?
It's going to change from city to city. Yes, usually they'll have to have a license. They'll have to have the fire marshal inspect their truck and make sure that their ANSEL system is all correct and that they have all the, the correct K and extinguishers and things like that. But usually that becomes it's a partnership. If that business is got, traffic that, if it's and I don't know, maybe you can tell me what kind of a business you're thinking of, but if it's a hardware...
One I always think of is Home Depot. I don't know if you got a Home Depot, it's you go there for your home improvement stuff, lumber, whatever, and out front there's always a food truck out there.
So I was going to say, if it was a hardware store, there you go. So that's just it. I mean, most of the time, if you go to a Home Depot or a Lowe's or something like that, they're kind of out on their own, but there's a lot of parking space. So if that food truck has made an agreement with the store manager, and maybe they're feeding the employees, maybe there's a discount for the employees or they've worked out some arrangement. But there's always a way that you can, if you partner with the right people, look at the traffic that's going into that Home Depot and, somebody's hungry. People are always hungry, right? I mean, so it's like, hey, and if they've seen that food truck, it's been there for a while. It's like, and maybe, the first 1 or 2 times they're like, oh, this is really good. I'm going to run to that food truck. You know what? Maybe now, 6 months later, they may not really need to go to Home Depot, but they're going because they might need one little thing, but maybe they just need something from the food truck, or vice versa. I mean, it's like, well, we're
Right.
here, I may as well go get something to
Yeah.
eat. So yeah, I mean, the possibilities with the food truck are really endless, because you can go to conferences, or you can park outside the businesses on the weekends. If you're hosting at the wedding, I mean, you've got lots and lots of options. And unless you're under contract with somebody to be at their store every Monday to Thursday or something like that, and even if you are, you hire correctly, so you've got the right people to run the truck in case you need to go take a holiday. You usually have lots of flexibility with it, so it's a fantastic, and it's so fun, because food trucks, I mean, usually they're doing something fun and unique to eat. So yeah. I mean, they're just, and you just pick up and drive somewhere else. It's great.
Right.
So
yeah, business on wheels.
That's it.
I love that.
That really is it. Yeah.
And somebody now, where is there like a company that builds these food trucks, or they have, or is it something you modify? Like you get it and you build it yourself. There's got to be some kind of place where you're getting all the equipment, and you got to invest in all that before you do anything.
So again, around the country, there you can go both ways. There's lots of. I'll have to say that there's probably quite a few FedEx vans and UPS vans out there, the old ones that have been stripped down and remodified to house whatever it is. And in fact, when we bought our food truck, it was just an empty van. It was down in Portland. And then I went to Portland Restaurant Supply and said, okay, we're going to take the dimensions. We're going to figure this out. You have to know what your menu is going to be. And at the time, I knew I didn't want us to serve any fried food. So I didn't want a fryer in a food truck. And I mean, for lots of reasons, I think from a safety aspect as well as just a healthy aspect. You know what? If French fries are on every corner, it doesn't matter. If you go to a fast food joint, you can get a French fry. I didn't feel like we should have French fries or anything like that in the food truck, but so that eliminated a fryer. But then we had an oven, and we had 6 burners, and we had a sear top, and we could put a grill in if we wanted to, or we could put in the panini grill. I mean, we had different things that we could pull in and out of it. So it lets you change the menu, so long as you, like for us, so long as we didn't want to do anything fried. So it really worked out well. And then you just outfit it accordingly. And
who's doing are there outfitters? Like, there's companies that provide the equipment and stuff, and you just got to kind of measure it all out and make sure it's all going to fit together. Somebody's planning that, and either yourself, or is there companies that help you do that?
So the restaurant supply companies are usually pretty good about saying, look, if you've got this space, this kind of a limited space, and it wouldn't matter if it was in a truck or it was in a stationary area. I mean, some people put restaurants in little hole in the walls, right? So if you've only got a narrow galleyway, then you buy equipment that's a little maybe shorter, or, a little more condensed. So yeah, I mean, or they might say, well, this particular brand caters more to food trucks, so look at this brand versus that brand, that kind of a thing. Especially on a food truck too. Anything like burners and ovens are all propane, so you've got to look at propane elements versus something like natural gas that would be in a brick and mortar. Generally, you have to have all that,
and then you have to have all that stuff inspected and stuff, obviously for safety reasons. And
right.
Yeah. And then one of the other things that always. Go ahead.
Sorry, but that's what we help people do is, if you're going to figure out your menu and let's help you source the food truck, then we can send you accordingly to the right place to make sure, okay, everything gets installed correctly, and then the fire marshal does his thing, and then everybody's happy. So, you
have the blueprint.
Everybody, that's what I mean.
Yeah, and the last thing, one of the other things I think, now I've got food trucks on my mind, is one of the other things I was fascinated is how they're branded. You see this outside of a food truck, it's like they are painted, or however that's all done, skinned with, and
Right.
it's always really unique and fun. And it, they'll have pictures of the food on the side, or just, or whatever ethnic foods are being sold. You'll see that reflected in that as well. So it can really stand out. So that's got to be a fun part of that too, though, kind of designing that.
So that's part of the creativity of it. You want to run your own little food truck, and you want to call the shots, and you want people to see it. If it's going to be bright pink, or if it's, yellow and red, and it's splashed with different characters, or whatever it is. I mean, that's the option. You can,
Right.
Conversely, you can put magnets on there, or you can put up, temporary stickers. You can buy, the flags and those funky things that blow up and do the big
Oh
bumper
yeah,
things.
yeah.
I mean, my dogs
You
always
just
growl
deploy
at
them.
those things.
You plot. You park it and you deploy it all. Just
Right,
let's-
right.
We're here.
It's like, yep, that's it. It's like, then that way the flag, because if people are driving by, they don't necessarily have a chance to maybe read what's on the side of the truck. But if you have a flag out there that's, 20 feet high, and, you just run it up the pole, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, this is here, then people know, oh, that's over there. I mean, it works out really well. So you play with your colors and yeah. And see, and then if you partner with particular people, so let's just say, now I don't think Home Depot, I can't speak for Home Depot, they might, but I'm thinking more like, so we have a couple of restaurants who decided they wanted to have food trucks as well, but they have a very good relationship with their liquor providers. So the liquor providers sponsored the food truck, and then got their food truck wrapped any way they wanted, because that can set you back a few $1,000s. But they're also buying so much alcohol. Now, different states allow different things. You're not allowed to sell alcohol out of a food truck up here. But depending on where you're located, let's face it, Las Vegas, everybody's got a drink, in both hands as they're walking down the street. So, I'm pretty sure their laws are a little more loose. But so if you've got those connections, or if you want to try to connect accordingly, it can make your life really a lot easier, and you can partner up with whomever that is, and get that food truck wrapped up accordingly. It just makes it so much fun.
Very cool. Well, this has been an interesting conversation. Now, I'm kind of excited about food trucks now, but I'll continue running my agency. No, I want to create one now. I could create like a portable web design agency. I can just drive around and park, and people can come up and buy web design from me. No, maybe not. That might not work. It's an idea. Anyway,
partner with a food truck, and they can eat. See if they're satisfied and they're eating while they're doing their design. Now you're onto something.
Oh, see? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good idea.
And then if you can get the alcohol in them, then they're like, well, let's buy this upsale package, of course.
Sure. That's a beautiful thing about, that's why I love business, is coming up with all these crazy, you just throw ideas out there, just crazy ideas. You never know. One of them could gel and be a thing. And it's about talking to people, making deals and networking and coming up with ideas. But one of the greatest takeaways from this is that somebody can also line up with you and take advantage of what you do, and not take advantage. We're not going to take advantage of you, but can, join you and learn a lot more about this, and have a guiding hand and a blueprint to kind of help go into this business or whatever it is. We just talked about food trucks. You also help people catering and other things. So if somebody wants to, reach out to you, get involved, where do they go? Do you got a website somewhere? You got something to get them started?
We do. If they pop onto culinaryilluminary.com, they can start right there. That'll take them to all the places they need to go to, and give them more information. And and everybody's at a different stage. So some people are still dreaming. Other people have said, hey, I'm doing things on the weekend. I really like this idea. Maybe I need to leap out of corporate America and do this full time. And other people are, just depends on what, on where they're at in their decision making, but we can help them define those things and help them wherever they are along the path.
So maybe they're even doing it now, but they're not getting any traction or they're struggling. They could still get your help. And
we have a client in New York. She is in public education still, and she is doing this on the weekends. She's catering little parties on the weekends, but she has no contracts. She doesn't know where to go with all that. And one of these days, somebody could say, oh, let's have a party at the end of next week. And she buys all the food and preps it. And they go, oh, I'm sorry, I changed my mind. And then what?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that could be bad.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah. That would
so
be
not
bad.
only have you purchased all the product and now you've put it all together and now you're stuck with it. And now you have no recourse because you didn't have a contract. So you're out. So
yeah, there's
things
like
that happen.
Involved. Yeah.
So it's good to protect yourself. We've got all the legal covered. It's really easy. It's easy when you have it. If you don't have it, tread cautiously.
You're taking on all the risks then, and that's not good. So,
Right.
And if anybody sites, or if somebody wanted to shoot you a message and say hi?
There's a few little videos on YouTube at the moment. There's more coming out. We're on Facebook, and yes, we're on LinkedIn as well. We don't do a lot with Instagram, but we have a presence. It's there. We probably need to fix that. We've got one or two little.
Years too.
Yeah, I know.
can't do everything.
Right? Yeah. That's I think there's some platforms out there when you post to one, it goes to everything, but I'm not sure where those are. I haven't really looked into that one.
There's like things like Buffer and there's other ones, Hootsuite, where you can kind of you still have to schedule it all and create all the assets and everything. But yeah, you can schedule it in one sitting and then it goes out on a regular basis. But,
that's that marketing part that I wasn't so, it's okay, but I really didn't love the marketing part. So, I was better with the numbers and the product.
Yeah,
so,
I enjoy the marketing part.
Yep. That's
my thing.
And you should. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Well, thank you for joining us and sharing everything you have, Kirsten. It was really, really interesting, and hopefully we'll convert some people into wanting to get a food truck or get into this type of business, and they learn some things from this. Until next time. Perfect.
Okay, Matt, thanks so much.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Builders Podcast. One more quick note about our sponsors. At Unified Web Design, we're passionate about doing better together, partnering with agencies and businesses to deliver exceptional web design, development, and ongoing support. And Unified Plugins offers tools to take your WordPress projects to the next level, helping you build beautiful websites, enhance functionality, and drive more conversions. If you haven't already, subscribe or follow to stay updated on future episodes. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, sharing it with somebody who might benefit helps us grow this amazing community. Until next time, keep building with intention and creativity.